Greetings. I am Dr. April Kaiser Edwards, and I'm joined with my colleague, Ms. Danielle Henderson. We will be co-presenting regarding the Comprehensive Needs Assessment Module 2 with you today. The Office of School Quality would like to say welcome and thank you for participation in viewing this session. We will be sharing some available resources with you at the end of the presentation. OSQ has several modules to support divisions with their continuous improvement planning via the use of our Virginia Continuous Improvement TA bundle. We really hope this is a resource that will be able to assist you as you continue planning for the school year. And just a reminder, our goal here at the Office of School Quality is to continue to work as a partner and collaborator with you and your team. So first things first, let's begin with setting the course for today's 1-hour webinar. Our focus for today will revolve around Module 2 of the Virginia Continuous Improvement Planning Toolkit, the Comprehensive Needs Assessment. Specifically, we will share the details of a CNA to include who must and should complete the CNA, and then when and why to conduct the CNA. We will also share with you the elements needed to ensure that you have conducted a successful CNA per USED guidance. And then we will share how you may begin when conducting a CNA and provide you information to assist you in accessing additional CNA resources. So in the end, we would really like you to be informed regarding this part of the continuous improvement process and perhaps identify some areas in which our office may be able to support you and your team. So this is the pathway to help you on your journey of continuous improvement. Virginia Continuous School Improvement Process includes 4 modules designed to provide guidance for you and your team with achieving school improvement goals. So Module 1 provides that overall cyclical process view for goal setting and improvement identification and evaluation of your changes. It's an ongoing process. It is a recommended process and a model for VA schools and divisions to use. Now, Module 2, now this is the focus for today, is the CNA, the Comprehensive Needs Assessment. You know, it's a process for understanding and identifying needs and performance challenges to include a root cause analysis and also look at the contributing factors to set priorities for future action. So this is a process that underpins the creation of your formal plan for improvement, really honing in on the areas to address increased growth. Module 3, now this is where you will start building that plan of action. This module is about taking you through the process in developing your comprehensive school improvement plan. And then we have a Module 4. Now this is the implementing and monitoring of your comprehensive school improvement plan. This module walks you through developing a monitoring process to ensure the implementation and impact of the actions selected in your comprehensive school improvement plan. So let me give you a little snapshot of this module. Module 2 is made up of processes and models to support you in developing your CNA. So in Module 2, you will find a short introduction to the process of a comprehensive needs assessment, along with some templates and resources to use throughout the process. Now, there are 5 phases outlined in this CNA process developed by the Virginia Department of Education. So if you look to the right side of your slide, you will see a list of resources available in the module. They include a CNA checklist, a CNA guiding questions. There's also a sample list of data sources, a CNA workbook, and then templates for conducting 5 whys. And then also there's executive summary templates for you as well. So as we think about state and federal accountability requirements, it's important to keep in mind that, you know, all divisions and schools are required to create and implement the multi-year improvement plan. And it must be focused on improving student outcomes. The results of that CNA will be used to develop this multi-year plan. This is included in both the ESSA law and also our standards of accreditation, hence state and federal accountability. So another accountability requirement is the monitoring, specifically on an annual basis. And at times, if we are not intentional in scheduling or planning, this could become a barrier in achieving student outcomes. So this is also where the division may support you as a school leader in monitoring that school improvement plan. So remember that this specific format of the process is not mandated by the Virginia Department of Education, but having the plan, your comprehensive school improvement plan based on needs, is a mandate. So our tools, the Virginia Continuous School Improvement Planning Toolkit, that bundle, inclusive of Module 2, is designed to support continuous improvement, to really elevate that quality. It also ensures compliance to the state and federal requirements. Now, we know that our office originates from a place of compliance. However, we at the Office of School Quality are here for you as a collaborative partner in meeting accountability requirements. So, as a refresher, the continuous improvement process supports understanding, planning, and monitoring in your school. It is made up of the needs assessment and the school improvement plan. That's the continuous improvement process. So the comprehensive needs assessment is embedded in the continuous improvement process. It's an intricate part to setting and meeting goals to support student achievement. It serves to support you with the ability to analyze the gap between your current state and the desired goals, inclusive of the identification of factors and root causes contributing to this divide. So here is a great visual of the process for improvement. This gives you an up close and personal view of the layers in continuous improvement. This aligns with the CNA process, collaborating on data sources, and what it says about your school. There are some questions you will see on the right side of your screen and also in the graphic. These foundational questions are prevalent throughout the process, the school improvement process. What are we trying to accomplish? How will we know that a change is an improvement? And then what changes can result in an improvement? Really thinking from beginning to end. These questions will allow you to explore and dig in to have the hard conversations. The Virginia Continuous Improvement Model is grounded in research, specifically the PDSA, Plan, Do, Study, Act. So plan. You know your divisions. There are always many items to consider. You will begin to make those aha moments. You will answer questions. You will even make predictions. And then do. This is the verb. You must be able to carry out that plan. Is the plan working? As a side note, collecting data is part of the entire process, similar to our formative assessments in the classrooms. We're always reviewing and assessing to inform and impact outcomes. And then we have study or check. This is where we complete the analysis of data. We will compare data to predictions and also summarize what was identified. And then act. And I like to say react or respond. Please note that there is a planning piece connected in here. You will be planning for that next cycle. Do we continue to do what we are doing, or do we need to change gears and try something new? As you can see, this is an ongoing, you're always updating and improving, living it, guiding you along the way. The process of PDSA is the foundation for the continuous improvement model here in Virginia. So as we move forward in exploring the CNA, we know that the who that conducts the CNA is you and your team for federal and state accountability requirements. Schools are to utilize the data to identify needs. Thus, you will conduct that comprehensive needs assessment. Now the question is, when do we conduct the CNA? It is the first step to creating a new multi-year continuous comprehensive school improvement plan. The time to conduct the CNA is when you are developing or planning to update your CSIP. A CNA will provide you with vital details to create a plan that truly addresses the needs of your school. A school leader may not find data from 3 years ago useful in building a plan to address students, when it's evident that many factors change over time. Students changed, staff changed, practices changed, etc. We know it is important to have accurate quality data to inform your planning. So there's a graphic on the right side of your screen, and this just gives you a bird's eye view of the big picture of the CNA. You have the CNA, you have your CSIP development from that, then you might update that CSIP annually, and then you have the implementation and monitoring. And as you can see, they're all connected. It's a continuing, ongoing process. So the CNA is conducted by you and your team when you are working on building the school improvement plan. So why do we need to conduct a CNA? Although some may find it to be time consuming, we as educators also know it provides details that are powerful in supporting and achieving our goals. So this process helps you understand your school's strengths, areas for improvement, and highlights not only challenges, but successes. The CNA provides a systematic review of your school's process, practices, and systems. The same can be said for divisions and also at the state level. So when conducting a needs assessment, it guides you in actually prioritizing future actions to address and meet the needs identified. So many times we find ourselves with multiple items that need to be addressed. So this is a process that will assist us in making decisions on a focus area and invest the resources in to truly make the outcomes that we desire. So in the end, it is really important to remember that the information from that CNA provides a foundation for high quality, comprehensive improvement. So Module 2, the CNA. According to the U.S. Department of Education, there are 4 elements of a successful comprehensive needs assessment. A CNA must be needs-driven and context-specific. Also incorporate the rigorous data analysis with the inclusion of stakeholder engagement while utilizing a collaborative approach for the identification of improvement. So when conducting a needs assessment, you and your team should begin thinking about these 4 elements as you move through the 5 phases of the CNA process. You will see a reflection box here. Now, on some of our slides, we have this. This is just for you to self-reflect. So as you consider the 4 elements, think about this. Which of these CNA elements do you anticipate your school or division will require the most support to complete? Just simply make a note to yourself at this time. So the first essential element is that it must be needs-driven and context-specific. This is evident when the approach to planning is driven by needs, and this means that the CNA is organized to assist the school in identifying problems, topics, and questions to be addressed. While also ensuring the need-driven approach, we must also consider that it is context-specific, which includes the examination of factors that may not directly be ascertained from assessment data. This identifies factors that contribute to the implementation of activities, strategies, or interventions. You will consider, what do you have? Specific programs, the factors that are contributing to the successes and the challenges, local influences, and always coming back to that stakeholder perspective, right? That counts here too. So to the right are some indicators and examples of look-fors that you may utilize to ensure you have this element in your CNA. So the school quality indicator can be found on your school quality profile. There's a teaching and learning focus, possible chronic absenteeism, leadership and governance, professional learning, the culture, safe environment, and even engagement of family and community. There is another reflection question for you here. So as you are thinking about the elements of the CNA, this one specifically, the needs-driven and context-specific, what local or situational factors have arisen in prior comprehensive needs assessments that you have conducted or other evaluations in your school or division? And just make a note of that. This is simply to increase your awareness. Which leads us to the rigorous data analysis. This is defined by multiple data points, quantitative and qualitative data. Data quality is addressed. Data triangulation and the root cause and contributing factor lens is considered here. Ensure you have the input data. This is related to the support of student achievement, like training or even materials. You have your output data. This is where you're showing those results, telling one story, what has happened with attendance, your observations, your assessments. And then you may look at your demographic and community data to provide that context. Examples are, what if you have an elevated level of student mobility, or you consider what's going on in the local economy. Some indicators and look-fors to achieve this element of a successful CNA may include the multiple data points and sources, right? That's to the right side. You've got your data triangulation. That's being able to make those connections between all data sources to increase the validity of the study. Your decisions, informed by curriculum, context, via the evidence student learning, your methods of assessment and instruction, criteria and standards to develop your next steps. Now, as you are thinking about data, quantitative and also the qualitative data provides extremely valuable information. Root causes and contributing factors is evident in rigorous data analysis. So when thinking about the rigorous data analysis, always consider the quality of the data. So there's another reflection question. So just take a moment and think about how would you answer this question? What are some data sets or information that has been the most challenging to collect in the past? Or if you have a data set or information that was difficult to obtain, but you were able to gain access to it, make a note of that as well. This may be a path to replicate in an effort to gain access to another data set or information that may present a challenge for you and your team. So moving on to the third essential element of the successful CNA. We have stakeholder engagement. And as you already know, stakeholder engagement is essential to conducting a successful CNA. A stakeholder engagement is that process for enabling the school to communicate with all involved. The engagement of school staff, parents, a diverse assortment of community leaders or business partners is recommended throughout the entire phase of the CNA. Now, with stakeholder engagement, we want to ensure that we have that broad perspective to identify our needs. We also want to build that trust with our stakeholders. The intentional inclusion definitely encourages the building of trust. This trust is supportive of stakeholders being more likely to be invested in outcomes and actively engage in the selection, development, and even the implementation of the school improvement efforts. And it will create that lasting change with this collective investment. The end goal is to increase the capacity for sustained implementation of the selected improvement strategies. Now, to the left, you will see indicators and examples for stakeholder engagement. You will look for stakeholders, both internally and externally. You will set expectations for stakeholders. They really need to know what they are expected to do. And then you want to have a process to engage stakeholders in the decision-making process and the implementation and monitoring. You want them to become the true partners throughout the continuous improvement process. And that final component is that collaborative identification of improvement. Simply means that priorities are identified with stakeholders collaboratively rather than only a small group of teachers, or in some cases, the leader of the school. We truly want everyone to have a stake or a horse in the race when it comes to our students' growth. Some examples may use in the process for engaging stakeholders. You may have them involved in the examination of your root cause, the identification of the needs, and it's always helpful to be in the know. So share the results with stakeholders so that they understand and see the importance of whatever you have selected, what practice or strategy that is chosen, to improve results. So here is another reflection question for you to ponder. How can school or division leaders support collaborative decision-making with stakeholders? If you have a process or a method to address the collaborative approach to identification, please just stop the video and make a note for your reference. So we now know there are 4 elements that are essential for a successful CNA. 1, 2, 3, 4. These elements are embedded in the 5 phases of the comprehensive needs assessment. We have the needs-driven and context-specific, rigorous data analysis, stakeholder engagement, and also that collaborative identification of improvement. So in that phase 1, that's where you're planning for the CNA. Think about what your focus area of need is. What is going on in your school now? Plan to conduct your needs assessment. Choose your team, that teaming structure. Then you have that phase 2, thinking about data sources for triangulation. At this time, you may need to think about your team again. Who will be on that team to analyze? Are the right people at the table? If it is data for students with disabilities, then do you have a representation from that group? Then you have your phase 3. That's where you will interpret and analyze. You're going to be using that information. Make sure you are truly interpreting this information, asking those hard questions, looking for the trends. You know, you can use that 5 whys to understand the cause and the symptoms of the areas identified. Then there's a phase 4. These are the areas you want to focus in on, but you will need to prioritize. Choose what is the critical and also attainable focus. And then phase 5, that's where you're beginning to plan. You're going to choose those actions to implement to address the area of focus. This is the connection to the writing of your comprehensive school improvement plan. You will begin the planning at this time.
Now we're going to walk through the CNA 5 phases. Utilizing a systematic process for conducting a CNA will provide the school improvement team with data to guide the stakeholders in determining and addressing the gaps between the current condition of your school and the desired state. Phase 1, planning for the CNA. The planning phase involves defining desired outcomes and creating a plan to achieve them. The initial planning phase of the CNA should be used to create a framework for completing the CNA. This framework may be influenced by your school or division's goals and intended outcomes for the CNA, as well as context-specific factors. The framework should include a list of focus areas or topics that the CNA will cover. Once established, the CNA framework or focus areas should be used to develop guiding questions that the CNA seeks to answer. For example, you may have 2 to 3 guiding questions for each focus area. The planning phase should also be used to plan for both stakeholder involvement across the entire CNA process, as well as planning for the data collection and analysis at the core of the CNA. The major phase goals of phase 1 defines purpose and intended outcomes of CNA, reviews the guiding questions to help identify focus areas, again, plan for stakeholder involvement, and lastly, identifies data and indicators aligned to guiding questions. Throughout this portion of the presentation, we'll be showing you examples pulled directly from the various resources that we'll be sharing with you. So within the CNA Guide, one of the resources you will receive, VDOE provides guiding questions that can be used to determine your focus area. This is a specific snapshot coming directly from the CNA Guide. A secondary resource that supports the CNA process is the CNA Workbook. This resource is of great value during the CNA process, as it allows you to have one place to store all of your CNA information. So again, throughout this portion of the presentation, we will depict different snapshots coming directly from the CNA Workbook. You will use this workbook along with the guide to provide examples of possible data sources and tools for gathering analyzing, and discussing your data. It will be used throughout all 5 phases of the CNA to organize your work. Also, another resource also included within the CNA is the CNA Checklist. Every phase of the CNA does include a checklist. So this is showing you a snapshot of the checklist that is a part of phase 1. So as you look at the components within the checklist, be sure to answer the questions or the statements with a yes or no. If you find yourself with any areas that could be a no, you want to definitely make sure that you go back and find time to address those areas. And you'll see that box to your right-hand side. Again, as I mentioned, every phase of the CNA process does include this checklist at the end. Moving on to phase 2 of the CNA process, collect and organize your data. The second phase includes collecting, organizing, and presenting for interpretation of various forms of data. And this could include qualitative, quantitative, input and output, and of course your demographic data. Major tasks relate to the creation and implementation of processes for collecting, reviewing, and organizing data that will be used to answer the CNA guiding questions. As I mentioned, those guiding questions will be found within the CNA Guide as well as within the workbook. Module 2 provides a listing of potential data that can be used to ensure a needs-driven and context-specific approach. One example for a professional development focus area is shown on the right side of the slide. Example data for additional focus areas can be found in Module 2. So as you look at the right side of the slide, the focus area is alignment to the written, taught, and tested curriculum. Some of the possible resources that or data sources that could be pulled include standards-based curriculum resources and materials, your scope and sequence, your pacing guides, foundation course class materials, enrichment materials, technology enrichment, common form assessments, and benchmarks as well. This will allow you to think outside the box in terms of which data source will be best for your CNA. The major goals of phase 2 include identifying a process to collect necessary data, organize and present the data in a format that all stakeholders will understand, and verify completeness of data to address goals and guiding questions. This is the portion of the CNA Workbook Template that will give you a specific place that you can use to gather, analyze, and begin to discuss your data. Within your CNA workbook, there will be specific tabs to give you specific areas to place your data based on the focus. So within the CNA workbook, the focus areas that are included include stakeholder engagement, academic achievement, achievement gaps, student engagement and outcomes, school readiness and early childhood learning, leadership and learning, access to quality of staff, alignment to the written, taught, and tested curriculum, and equity opportunities and resources. The CNA workbook is editable, so therefore it can be adjusted to meet the specific needs of your school or division. So therefore, if you do not see a focus area included within the workbook, please know that you can always add it and adjust it to ensure that it is usable for your school and division. Phase 3 is interpret and analyze information. Phase 3 of the CNA is the time for analysis and interpretation of data with the goal of creating meaningful information to inform the CNA results and priorities. This stage also includes the root cause analysis with the goal of identifying breakdowns in systems and processes. The data analysis should seek to identify themes that emerge across multiple sources. This is often referred to as data triangulation. Data triangulation is used to conform areas of strength and concerned by analyzing separate data sets and metrics to discover trends and answer questions. Three of the major goal focuses for phase 3 include identifying themes that emerge across multiple sources, identifying the root cause and ensure that they are not symptoms, and determine how to address the root cause. Again, this is a snapshot directly from the CNA workbook to show you the location where you can begin to place your data analysis. As you can see from the snapshot, the workbook will include a place for you to record 3-year trend data, even to record the frequency of the collection of your data sources, and of course, the list of possible data sources. At the bottom of each section, there will be conclusion questions. This allows you to begin to reflect on the data that you have entered into the section. So the questions will allow you to reflect and begin your analysis and interpreting of the data that you have entered. Additional resources that are included within the CNA to allow you to dig deeper into identifying your root causes include the Fishbone diagram. You can use a Fishbone analysis to identify root cause for an identified challenge or problem as a group brainstorming exercise. Once you have selected the specific challenge area, and that's indicated in yellow on this example, in this example, it is low student performance. You're going to add categories that relate to this problem. These may be viewed as areas for improvement related to low student performance, shown as blue boxes on this example. In a brainstorming session, team members get to suggest causes that relate to each of the categories. A key aspect of this brainstorming process is to ensure that participants suggest causes that are truly supported by evidence. The group facilitator or leader should ask questions about the proof that the cause actually exists, that it contributes to the problem, and that it could lead to the stated effect. Additional causes that are outside of your control, such as when the potential causes control outside of the school, classroom, or division, should be excluded from the brainstorming process. Once all causes are vetted and added to the Fishbone diagram, the final tasks are to identify themes and trends across categories and rank causes based on your ability to directly make changes to address it and impact the challenge or problem. The Fishbone diagram should be used to identify root causes that the school has the greatest capacity to change. Again, that is the goal of your CNA, is to find those areas that you are able to bring about change. A second resource that is included within the CNA is the 5 whys. The 5 whys is a simple brainstorming tool that can help teams identify or dig deeper within the identified root cause or problem. Once a general problem has been recognized, either using the Fishbone diagram or another tool, ask why questions to drill down to the root cause. Asking the 5 whys allows school improvement teams to move beyond obvious answers and reflect on less obvious explanations or causes. So in using the 5 whys, you're going to state the problem that the school improvement team has identified as a strategic problem to work on. Next, you're going to start asking why related to the problem. Why is this happening? Ask as many whys as you need in order to get insight at a level that can be addressed. Asking 5 times is typically the best way to get to this point. You will know you have reached the final why because it doesn't make logical sense to ask why again. It is said that only by asking why 5 times successfully can you delve into a problem deeply enough to understand the ultimate root cause. By the time you get to the 4th or 5th why, you will likely be looking squarely at management practices. More than 5 whys may require of a more complex problem. I mentioned earlier the importance of data triangulation. Data triangulation is the process of using at least 3 points of data when making an educational decision. It recognizes that any single interim assessment score is subject to environmental or motivational influences, which can affect its accuracy. Utilizing multiple measures to gather information for the purpose of making an informed educational decision is what is a part of the process of data triangulation. The benefits of using data triangulation is it can compensate for the imperfection of some of the assessments because you're no longer relying on just that one source of data. When multiple measures yield the same results, it can increase the confidence in the result and assure that you know where to focus reteaching or curriculum adjustments. When multiple measures fail to yield the same results, it will raise important follow-up questions. So in looking at your data triangulation, here are 3 possible points to consider. The observation of the process, and this could include anecdotal notes, running records, presentations, student workbooks, etc. You want to consider performance outcomes. And these include performance tasks, student work, assignments, assessment tools, many things that are probably covered during your PLCs. And then of course, learning conversations. And this data source could include learning conversations from peers, teachers, surveys, forums, focus conversations, notes and journals, and of course, input from your stakeholders. The use of 3 or more sources of data to increase the validity of the study, decision-making, identification of the need, and determination of next steps. Decision-making is informed by professional knowledge of the curriculum, the context, evidence of student learning, methods of assessment and instruction, and criteria and standards that indicate success in student learning. Phase 4 of the CNA process is where you're going to begin to prioritize your focus areas. Phase 4 of the CNA process directs efforts towards the identification of a manageable set of priorities and focus areas. It is important at this stage in the process to engage with stakeholders to ensure agreement and build support. And as we mentioned, that should be a part of the entire CNA process, ensuring your stakeholders are right there with you every step of the way. Prioritize areas that will have the greatest potential impact on student outcomes and on areas that align with the initial focus areas and guiding questions set out during the planning phase. Prioritization should also consider the school or division's capacity for realistically addressing the issues or concerns. The 4 major focus goals for this phase include establishing focus area priorities based on data analysis, ensure stakeholder participation and agreement, identify priorities with greatest potential for impact on student outcomes, and to determine capacity and limits to addressing priorities. Now let's reflect. How can you include stakeholders in the process of identifying and prioritizing focus areas? What challenge might you encounter in prioritizing focus areas? Within the CNA Guide and Workbook, there are templates that will allow you to compile your school profile and division priorities during the CNA process. So there is a section within that resource that will allow you to prioritize each specific focus area. As you can see, you can determine if it's not a priority, a minor priority, moderate priority, significant priority, and not applicable at all. And as I mentioned, this template can be adjusted to meet the specific needs of your school or division. Phase 5, which is the last phase of the CNA process, is to connect the development of the CSIP. The final step in the CNA process involves taking the results of the CNA and beginning the process of translating the results into actionable steps. Your action plan should include information on who is responsible for each step, how will the plan be communicated to stakeholders, timelines, your deadlines, a plan for determining if the action steps plan results are intended for change, and a plan for determining if the problem has been solved. So the major goals in this phase include writing the CNA executive summary, establishing a process for including CNA results within the CSIP, and begin the transition of data into actionable steps and collaboration with your stakeholders. So to the right of your screen, you'll see some little tips to remind you during this process, a little CNA checkup. So I want you to think about, does your CNA prioritize the underlying root cause of the identified challenge? Does your CNA identify a variety of student groups needing targeted support in the comprehensive school improvement plan? Does your CNA triangulate data from multiple sources to make informed decisions? And does your CNA identify areas of need of improvement, which can be used to develop the comprehensive school improvement plan? Now, keeping those checkup questions in mind, I also want you to reflect. How will stakeholders be involved with the transition from writing the CNA executive summary into actionable steps to implement? Now let's talk about the CNA executive summary. The final step in the CNA process may include the creation of the CNA executive summary. Again, this is not a required step in the process, but it is recommended. This document is a valuable final step as it provides the opportunity for the school or divisions to share in writing that the CNA includes more than just test scores. The CNA executive summary is also an opportunity to share details about the CNA process and goals and outcomes and build support for future implementation and monitoring. If desired, the CNA executive summary can be used as an introductory text for the CSIP by providing a narrative overview of the school and summary of evidence and priorities related to areas in need of improvement, which will then be addressed within your CSIP. Again, this is an example of a possible CNA executive summary template. As you can see, the sections that are included within the executive summary will be a cover page, purpose and introduction, your school profile data, school instructional summary, extended learning opportunities, the areas of strength that will come from your data analysis and interpretation, and your areas of concern. Module 2 provides several templates for creating your CNA executive summary. And this is just an example of one. The executive summary should include both data and narrative text. Data points are often used to provide a profile of the school or division with information on students, staff, and programming. The narrative portion of the executive summary should be used to provide a summary of the school, its instructional programs, as well as details on extended learning opportunities. And finally, the executive summary should conclude with details on the outcomes of the CNA, areas of strength, and areas of concern. These are the sections for detailing the results and priorities that came out of your CNA analysis. So we have just walked through the 5 phases of the CNA. Phase 1 was planning for the CNA. Phase 2 was collect and organize data. Phase 3 was interpret and analyze information. Phase 4 was to prioritize your focus areas. Phase 5 was to connect to the development of the CNA. Hopefully, as we move through the 5 phases, you were able to see the 4 essential elements embedded throughout every single phase. We talked about the needs for the need-driven and context-specific information and data, the need for rigorous data analysis. I spoke quite a bit about stakeholder engagement. And lastly, the collaborative identification of improvement. We have final reflection questions for you to ponder as you think about and begin your CNA process. What are 3 things you discovered from today's session that you plan to implement? Jot down 2 questions that you may have from today's sessions that you can please feel free to reach out to us and ask us about. What is one area that we can provide you with further support? These are the resources that will be available to you as you begin to conduct your CNA process. We have the overview of the comprehensive needs assessment process. Module 2, conducting comprehensive needs assessment, details. Another comprehensive needs assessment checklist. As I mentioned, the checklists are embedded at the end of all 5 phases. The comprehensive needs assessment workbook. This is an Excel document. We have the comprehensive needs assessment workbook guide. This will step you through directions on how to fill out and utilize the Excel workbook. A copy of the slides, this PowerPoint. We also have the needs assessment executive summary templates. That also does include a rubric, a summary rubric to allow you to ensure that you have written your executive summary to include all the components that are necessary to begin the process of writing your CSIP. We have templates for the 5 why brainstorming, as well as instructions that go along with it, data triangulation information, and of course, our VA CSIP resource guide that will walk you through the different modules within the VA CSIP process. As I mentioned, a workbook is a major tool within the CNA, and you'll receive a copy of that as well. This is just a listing of the members of the Office of School Quality. We are here to support you. As I mentioned, if you jotted down any questions during this presentation, please feel free to reach out to any member of the Office of School Quality. We'll be here to support you and answer your questions. Also, if you'd like to set up a meeting with us to discuss your CNA or any other school improvement questions that you may have, we do have quality time. Every 3rd Thursday of the month from 8:30 to 10 o'clock, the OSQ staff will be available for appointments to answer questions that you may have. They are 15-minute appointments, and this is the link that you can use. Please be sure to state your division, your name and title, and the topic that you need to discuss. This will allow us to come prepared for the discussion and also have resources available based on what your need may be. Once your appointment is approved, you'll receive a Zoom link for the meeting. The Office of School Quality staff is looking forward to providing personalized support through the OSQ quality time. And lastly, again, it's a great time to pause and jot down any questions that you may have so that we can definitely make sure that we're able to answer them when you reach out to us. Thank you so much, and I hope this resource will be helpful to you and your school and division.